Good
All
evening,
right.
everybody. I'm Mike Feliu. I'm here with Andy here, a former cast member. I'm just a Disney enthusiast. I love it. And we're going to talk about Disney attractions that are no longer with us that we loved. And I have a much different viewpoint. But Andy's a cast member. Well, from for how many years, Andy?
I was a cast member for 10 years at Disneyland from 1986 to 1996.
That's
So
amazing.
a lot of the videos that I make on my channel, Palm Springs Linguist, are based on that experience.
That's amazing. And if you missed any of his last videos, he did a wonderful compilation of the Disney rides. It's a fantastic video. If you didn't see it, please go ahead and check that out. And obviously, please subscribe to his channel and my channel as well, and make sure to hit that like button and show the love. So, I like to start off with a ride that really gets me annoyed and it gets me angry. So we're
Yeah.
gonna start being angry today. All right. As
Okay.
much as I love Frozen, I named my rabbit Olaf. I raised my other rabbit Sven, but I missed the Maelstrom. The Maelstrom
Yeah.
was such a beautiful ride. You went in there and you saw the trolls, and it was such a beautiful experience. And then they changed it to Frozen. I still don't
Yeah.
get why Frozen didn't get its own ride. It's so annoying. What do you think, Andy?
I think I view it more positively than you. I'm curious because this is a very similar experience. Is El Rio de Tiempo turning into Grand Fiesta Tour? What do you think of
Yeah.
that?
I thought the Mexican ride needed a pump up because it got boring after a while. And I
Yeah.
thought the Grand Fiesta, see, they didn't really change it too much. They just added the ducks along the way, Donald and
Yeah.
the three caballeros. So I thought it gave it that extra bump that you needed to make the ride a little more exciting. But that difference between that and the Maelstrom, they didn't really change the ride. They just gave an
True.
addition to it, which gave it more of a pump.
Yeah, I agree. There was a much more dramatic change. I'd be curious. I don't know the movie Frozen. I've seen the movie Frozen, of course. I don't know the movie Frozen well enough to know if it takes place specifically in Norway or is it just generically in Scandinavia?
It's in Norway, and but
Okay,
I'm
so
sure
it
the
is a fit as far
whole
as that
area.
goes.
Yeah, no, I think it did good. It did justice by the movie. They did a beautiful job. I mean, in the beginning it was a little weird because they used to have a dark hallway, which now they fixed up with snowflakes. So the
Yeah,
beginning change of it was a little bit odd, but it's a fantastic ride. I actually love the ride.
yeah.
My wife is a huge Frozen fan. If she doesn't ride it like 10 times and we're at
Oh
Epcot, she
yeah.
gets very annoyed. And my wife's just gonna watch this video later. But oh, it's absolutely amazing. Have
So
you had
I'm
the chance
curious.
to get that? Have you had the chance to get to Epcot and ride that, or
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. I
Then-
think I'm pretty
oh, no.
much. I think I completely caught up with Disney World except for Tron. I haven't been on the
Well, that just
Tron
came out.
roller
Yeah,
coaster yet.
yeah. You won't see me on that ride. I am a certified ride wimp,
Oh
so
yeah.
I'm the bag carrier. So I want to tell you, I went into the Rise of Resistance ride, and it's and my 70, I think she's 74 now, year old grandma, mother-in-law, is on the ride, and that little drop at the end, I felt so dizzy. And
Oh
she
really?
goes to me, "You're a whip. It's like just a fast elevator." So it only went down literally a floor, but I felt dizzy. Now I'll probably do it again because I love Star Wars that
Yeah.
much. But I was dizzy. I was so dizzy there. So I'm the bag carrier. I take the photos. I do all that good stuff.
I have a friend that I had taken on Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland, and I had already been on the attraction, but he hadn't. And he was a former cast member and interested in Disney and everything. But he's like you; he doesn't really like the wild rides, and so he asked me, "Well, does it go upside down? No. Does it go fast?" And I said no. And I said, "Does it have like sudden drops or anything?" I'm like, "No." And I said, "Does it go backwards?" No. Well, we get on the ride, and I guess my perspective is just so different. The very first thing it does is hightail backwards, and he just looks at me like you darn liar.
Well, the backwards wasn't too bad. It was more the how do you feel about the drop?
He ultimately he was okay with the whole ride, but he does feel like I downplayed it quite a bit. So I have a question for you. Out of all the attractions that are no longer here, what attractions did you never get a chance to ride that you wish you would have?
The original Figment. I
Oh
never had a
yeah.
chance. I was too young. It wasn't until about 1988 that my family went to Disney for the first time. So I never rode the original Figment. I heard it was wonderful. With the Dream guy and all that stuff. I never experienced that. I heard, although I do like this Figment ride, but I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, it's never in my eyes, it's never recovered, and I think, I'm it's to the point that I'm kinda biased because, yeah, if you saw the current one and didn't know about the old ones, it's like you don't know any better. The
Yeah.
original I thought was really, really good,
Oh,
and I
that's
definitely miss
amazing.
it.
Well, one of the things I had mentioned to you when we were texting together was when you're in Epcot, I missed keeping in Epcot, walking out of the Living Seas, and I thought that was such a beautiful ride, because you walked out of it and you went right into the submarine station. Although I love Nemo and I love everything about it, it's weird. It doesn't fit the underwater station, that it is, and I miss it because they actually was an interactive ride. They actually and you learn
Mhm.
things on it. It was like everything that Walt Disney wanted about the place, and they took it and made it Nemo. It's I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I like it, but it's I don't know.
That's actually my there's a video that I'm working on. It's not gonna be the next one, but, a future video, um, about the topic of when did Future World lose its way?
Yeah,
And after having done all the research on it, my conclusion is really Living Seas with Nemo and Friends. I don't. It doesn't bother me that the Nemo characters are there. I think I'm all for adding an intellectual property to an
yeah,
attraction, either to make it more relevant or to make it more exciting or
yeah,
fun. But what really bothers me is that it's not the Nemo characters teaching you about the ocean. It's the Nemo
yeah,
characters telling the story of finding Nemo.
yeah,
So, in my eyes, this is a Fantasyland attraction. This is not an Epcot attraction.
yeah. It totally misses out. And sticking to water rides, another ride I miss, and this is where I have really fond memories with, as a child, with my father and my family, is this past the last time they were over, we were watching 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I used to love going to Magic Kingdom and going down into that submarine. And yeah, the
Yeah,
fish were plastic and it was like all the bubbles going around. And but as a kid, it was such a cool ride. And I
yeah.
think they saw something like that in Disneyland, don't they? Don't they have somebody a boat ride underneath?
They do. So at Disneyland, it started off as the submarine voyage, which predates the 20,000 Leagues attraction.
Mm,
It's more or less the exact same attraction, except that the actual submarines are a lot plainer. They're not the
mm,
Nautilus, like themed to the movie.
yeah.
That's an attraction I used to work. In fact, it was the first attraction that I worked,
Oh
and
wow.
that's an attraction where I really have a completely different perspective as a cast member versus a fan. As a fan, I liked it. I thought it was, a novel experience that you can't get anywhere else. I think they did a good job, based on 1959 standards when it opened.
Yeah.
But as a cast member, oh my god, is it boring? Just going round and round and round. Oh, the most boring attraction to work. Just horrible. But I get it. It's good for the guests. Now it closed down for several years, and then it reopened with a Finding Nemo overlay to it. So
Uh,
it's a little bit like the Living Seas, except that it doesn't bother me as much because this isn't Future World. Um, well, I mean, it's Tomorrowland, but nevertheless, that doesn't really have as strong of a theme as Future World used to have. So
wow.
that one doesn't bother me. So an attraction that I never got a chance to go on that I really wish I had. My first time going to Epcot was, or to Disney World in general, was 1984. So by then, the Mickey Mouse Review had already closed.
Oh, wow. I've heard about that.
It was kind of like the Country Bear Jamboree, but with Disney characters like Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and Donald and stuff like that. So it was kind of like their answer to doing a sequel to Country Bear Jamboree, but for Fantasyland. But it closed
Wow.
down before I got there. I
Were you
believe they
able to
moved
get
it to
any
Japan.
Oh, Japan. Were you able to get any video? Anybody take a video of it? Be able to
It is
catch it?
on YouTube. I don't
Is
know
on
who did it,
YouTube?
but yeah,
I'll have to search it up. That no, because I've never obviously I've never been there myself. Being my first 1988 was my first time there.
yeah.
But that was amazing. All right, so let's talk about something very, very controversial right now.
Okay.
Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain's ending, the latest ride to end. And I was on Instagram saying it should not be Tiana's ride because it's almost take for me at least. I don't know how it is in Disneyland, but in Disney World, this ride constantly breaks down all
Yeah.
the time. My wife, in fact, when we went on our honeymoon to Disney, she never rode the ride. We were there for a week, and it kept breaking down every time we. And it's so the track is just so messed up. They're gonna redo this thing to Tiana, which makes no sense in the setting of where it is, and then I think the ride's just gonna keep breaking down on them. I mean, I think, I was hoping Tiana would get one of those new flashy new rides like Ratatouille, something that
Hmm.
really brings us. I'm afraid they're gonna redeem this thing, and it's gonna be great at Tiana, but you're not gonna get a chance to ride it. It's gonna break down. I mean, I hope
You
they
know,
do
the last
something.
time I was on it in Florida, of course, like the last couple trips, being cognizant that it's leaving, I go on it a million times because this might be the last time.
Yeah,
And I did notice that I didn't notice any issue with the log or the flumes, but I did notice that a lot of like lighting and animatronics were not really working the way they were
yeah,
supposed to. And you can't help but think that when they know that it's going to close soon, they're probably not as motivated to keep up on the maintenance of
yeah,
that. I completely agree with you. In fact, I made a whole video called "Is Tiana's Bayou Adventure a better fit than Splash Mountain?" And
mm,
I really feel like the answer is different for Disney World and Disneyland. In Disney World, it's in Frontierland and it's right across from Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is like the
yeah,
Southwest.
yeah,
So it feels like it doesn't really mesh. I don't actually think that Splash Mountain really meshes either, but
yeah.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure does not improve upon that. But in California, Splash Mountain is right next to New Orleans Square.
Oh, see, that
So
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
yeah, I mean Tiana's Bayou Adventure should be taking place in Louisiana. So I think in California that it makes total sense, but not so much in Florida.
And the thing is, when I brought it up, people kept saying, "Oh, but Tiana deserves a ride." Yeah, I believe she deserves a ride too. I think, when that movie came out, it was a very underappreciated movie. For some reason, it fell flat, and it was a very positive movie. About hard work, setting goals.
Yeah.
Something that I think was a good phone, getting a good showing for the African American community, something really grab onto and say, hey, this is a positive role model and a very heroic, brave, wonderful. And I actually have her on my team on my video game, Disney Mirrorverse, my little app game.
Nice.
She's one of my but I thought it really says such a strong message. And I don't think I'm hoping it works out well.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm gonna miss as a little kid. I didn't like Splash Mountain. Obviously, because I don't like those type of rides. I did go
Yeah.
on it in Disneyland, and I almost went, and I felt it completely. I couldn't do it again. My friends are trying to get me back on it,
Uh,
trying to bribe me on. It's like, nah, I'll hold your bag. Whatever you need. But I didn't go back on. But it was, but I'm just hoping it works out because I would hate for it to do all that work, spend all that money to fix it up, and just have it continue to break down with the wear and tear. It's
yeah.
yeah,
I was on the opening crew of that ride at Disneyland, and I even worked the ride before it opened to the public, like when they did
yeah,
test and adjust.
yeah,
So I would be there to operate it, to just like send the logs around and around, while so that the engineers could contest it and evaluate it, make sure that it's completely safe and efficient before it it opens. And
Yeah.
that first year, it did break down a lot, but then they worked out the kinks, and
Yeah.
we had many years. Now, currently, I don't know if it's like the experience that you're talking about in Florida or not. Um, yeah. So, that made me think when I knew that we're going to do this and we're going to talk about attractions that aren't here anymore, it dawned on me there's a lot of rides that I worked that aren't here anymore.
Oh, wow.
Splash Mountain, of course, it's still in California, but as you know, it's not in Florida. But I
Yeah.
also worked the Skyway. That's long gone.
Wow.
Although it kind of has come back with the Skyliner,
Yeah,
sort
yeah. Well, my wife was telling me she loved our trip because we stayed at the Caribbean beach, and it's one of the sky. We said I felt like we had a ride going into the rides, because
Yeah,
it was great. In fact,
I
because they
love it.
both my wife and mother-in-law use scooters,
Oh,
going to
really?
the park. It was much easier to get into the park, to Toy Story and Hollywood Studios, because the bus is because they can only fit 2 scooters. So if that
Oh,
didn't work out, we had to wait for the next bus to come, and we lose easily a half hour to 45 minutes.
yeah.
So it
And
was
my
great.
understanding, you tell me if this is correct, if you're using a wheelchair or a scooter or something like that to get onto the Skyliner, like they have a bucket, a Skyliner gondola kind of like off to the side so that you can take as long as you need, right?
Yeah,
Without slowing down the whole transportation system.
yeah, they have about every 5th or 6th gondola is, they have a gondola, they have one that goes off to the side, and they put you in, and then they go ahead and put you right back on the track, and it goes along. So it was awesome.
That sounds like yeah, it sounds like a good system. So some of the other attractions that I work that are no longer here. Of course, we already talked about the submarine voyage. Um, it's the Nemo version now. Country Bear Jamboree. I used to work on that, and I know in Florida you guys have that, but we don't have that in California
You
anymore.
don't? I didn't know that.
No, it's turned into Winnie the Pooh, but not your Winnie. Not why I say your. Florida's Winnie the Pooh, a much cheaper, shorter version. So
Ah,
most of us are upset, or at least I'll just speak for myself. I'm upset that Country Bear Jamboree isn't there anymore because they replaced it with something that wasn't good. If they replaced it with the Florida one, I'd be much happier with it. And the one I haven't been to Japan yet, but I have buddies that have been to Japan, and they say the one in Japan is awesome.
they did everything great in Japan. You look at Japan, Hong Kong, all these other places, Paris. They really, I mean, the Pirates ride is very different.
Mhm.
It's they really ramped it up, and I don't know. I feel like we got cheated. You know,
Yeah. So the last attraction that I thought of that I worked that's no longer there anymore was the original Star Tours. Back when it was only a single film,
oh yeah.
but
I
I
love
think
it
that's
that it's
improved a lot.
I love it that it's different, so I can go on the ride. In fact, I rode that one morning. It was our last day there. We were about to get on the flight in the evening to go home, and I rode it 6 times in a row. There was hardly
Oh
anybody
wow.
there. I love that ride. Even before Galaxy's Edge opened up, that was my ride. That's a ride,
Yeah.
although it's a little bit tumbly, I could handle it.
Yeah.
I love that ride. And I was afraid they were gonna take it down. I mean, although it's a good lead into Galaxy's Edge, I mean, and it works, but I was like, "Oh, please don't do anything with that ride." I love having the Millennium Falcon ride and
Hmm.
having the Star Tours ride. It's awesome.
Have you ever, as we're talking about Star Tours, did you ever go in Life and Health on Body Wars?
I did. I did. I love that. I remember it being fun. I don't remember it vividly. I remember it being fun. I don't remember it all the way, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I kind of think it was not that. It was fun, not that big of a deal. But that was very much like Star Tours. The whole feel of it and
Yeah.
the ride control vehicle system is really exactly the same as Star Tours, just has a different film and a different theme.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It was a
Cranium
lot of fun.
Command.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Cranium Command was also in that pavilion, and that was a show that I thought was really cute. I
I
really like
don't
that a lot.
remember that. I don't tell me about it. I don't remember it.
Okay, so that's an attraction where you go in and kind of reminded me of Mission to Mars a little bit, where you're in this like I think it was a round theater, and then in the well, I'm not sure if it was round or not.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be inside a boy's mind. And
Right.
then there's the I'm not sure I don't remember what you call the thing that's in charge of your brain, like the hippocampus or something like that.
Right, right.
There's a character that plays that, and I might be getting that detail wrong, but there's a character that plays like this the part of your brain that's kind of in charge of your brain, and then it's talking with all the different parts of the brain, and then some of the parts of the brain were played by like SNL actors and stuff like that. So it
Mm.
was very humorous and a lot of fun.
That's amazing. You know what, Andy? I just thought of something. We're not particularly sure this is airing on your channel. So I think this might be a great time to stop, and then we could do a part 2
Sure.
where you start the stream, because I don't want to go through all my ideas that we're thinking
Okay,
about if
sure,
this
sure,
isn't
sure.
going on your channel. I want to be fair. So I want to thank everyone who's watching part 1 of looking back at the old attractions. Please remember to like this video. Please subscribe to all our channels, and you have a wonderful evening. Andy, I'm going to give you a call when I hang up from this, okay?
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Appreciate you.
Bye bye. Thank you for joining us.